Go. 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 Eating gas.
What's going on, guys? It's a regular guy with the Regular Guy Firearms channel. Thanks for watching. Now, today I have a rifle in front of you that is not new at all. But it does seem to have a cult-like following, and I decided that I wanted to do something a little different. So here we go. This is the SIG 556, and this is 6 hours attempt at merging the two most predominant rifles in the world right now, and that's obviously the AK and the AR. They wanted an AK-like operating system and its reliability with AR-type controls. Now, I'm going to go over issues that I have with this rifle really quickly, and I'm going to go over little things here and there that annoy me about it, and then we're going to go over, obviously, things that I dig about the rifle. Now, the first and foremost and the most obvious, this is a heavy bitch. It is. Compared to a standard carbine length AR, right, that's running just under 7 pounds, or a stock Comblock AK, which is just over 7 pounds, this guy has 2 pounds on it, stripped of all the ninja-fied crap. That's pretty bad. I believe that the intent for every combat carbine that should have ever existed should be to be as light as possible. This doesn't do that. What's worse is that it is nose heavy. So while it helps out in recoil and stuff, for those of you that are hog hunters and stuff like that, and for those of you that actually pay attention to the 99% of shit that we do that doesn't revolve around shooting, this thing called life, this guy doesn't help you out in that regard. It's heavy as shit. The next thing is this, it is more complicated than it needs to be. Now, I'm not saying that you need a college degree to run this thing or to take it apart and put it back together. I'm not saying that at all. What I am saying is that small parts come off of this guy, and as far as field stripping and whatnot in the dark, that would become an issue. And here's the reason why. A basic field strip only really requires you to yank the bolt and the charging handle out of the thing. The gas system can run unlubed for a very long period of time, or uncleaned for a long period of time. And if you just want stuff out of your bolt group and stuff like that, if you want to clean the bore area out, you can just yank out the charging handle and the bolt once you clear the stock and the lower receiver. That's fine. The problem is that the charging handle is small, and it's its own little individual piece. I don't like this. And one of the main reasons why I don't like this, obviously, is because you can lose something like that. And this is just looking at it from a rifleman's perspective. You guys can have different takes on it, but it's a pet peeve of mine. When small parts come off a gun, when you're doing just a basic, real basic, tear down of the large components field strip. Now, obviously, you can get more complicated with it, and when you go down to the detailed cleaning and everything else, more problems emerge a little bit. Because if you're a super noob on this gun, and I totally am, not going to say that I'm not at all, but in 1,000 rounds that I managed to fire through this rifle for this review, I've noticed that when you take this guy apart and put it back together, you can do it wrong. Meaning, when you separate the bolt and carrier, charging handle, and the gas system from the thing, you can reassemble it incorrectly and not know it, and not know about it. Okay? That is a problem. For detailed field strip and cleaning and all that craziness, I don't dig that you can put a rifle together, that things will snap together correctly and then you're still wrong as shit. My personal preference is for rifles like ARs and AKs that are pretty much dumb guy proof, where you cannot put this rifle back together and run a function check without parts in the correct places. Okay, so that is another pet peeve that I have on this rifle. With mention to controls, I don't like incomplete jobs, and you'll understand why I say incomplete here in a second. Now, we have an ambidextrous safety, but not a magazine release, right? A non-reversible charging handle, and obviously you have a standard bolt release on the thing. Now, it can be argued that with a bolt release or the charging handle, you can handle what you have to do with either hand. That is true, so I'm not worried about that. Magazine release will stall you if you're a lefty like me for a little bit. If you're right-handed, obviously you don't have this concern. But, again, as lefties, we figure out our ways around that. That's not that big of a deal, also. So, I can work around this, and I can work around this. Not a huge issue. What strikes me as a little lazy is this. The placement of this hinge in relation to this safety. It is going to bind you. You'll notice it within a couple of seconds as a left-handed guy. That will bind you pretty quickly. Pretty much to the point where I just don't use this side anymore. I just snake the safety on and off as I would with a right-handed only gun, or I'll just throw my thumb completely over to this side and mess with it that way. So, I mean, the safety is there, but because of the hinge placement, why is it there in the first place? It doesn't really help anybody at all, so it is what it is. The next thing that a lot of people talk about is something that I believe is complete crap. Okay, now, that our guy is unloaded for the time being, we're going to talk about something that a lot of people make a really big deal about. It doesn't need to be made a big deal about. And that is the trigger in this guy. Lots of people everywhere complain about the stock trigger in this particular rifle. And the reason being is that it actually feels very Glock-like. Okay? Only arguably quite a bit worse. Because this trigger, the actual button on this isn't really doing anything. Okay? What you're doing is that you are depressing a plunger that basically works all the junk in here. Okay? So it's very creepy, it's very spongy, and the brake is not solid. Okay, the brake is not solid, and the reset is kind of spongy itself too. Now, all of this being said, and all of the people that have serious issues with it and everything else, I believe that, personally, that all of those arguments are complete bullshit. Okay? Because a lot of guys that have issues with that trigger, basically, to me, strike me as the guys that complain about AK accuracy. If you are a squared-up rifleman, if you have done the training that you need to do, if you have your fundamentals honed, this is a pretty accurate rifle. Okay? Now, leading into shit that I actually like about this rifle, we're going to start on accuracy. This is about as accurate as any Daniel Defense, Bravo Company, Adams Arms AR that I've ever used. What's more is that its nose heaviness does help itself out in the recoil department. While it does have a Kerchunk type recoil impulse, the gun itself stays pretty damn flat while it's shooting. So, if you know anything about recoil control, if you know anything about dealing with the little eggshell that you have to deal with when you're starting to deal with a flash sight picture, you'll actually notice readily that this guy doesn't hop around a whole lot on you. So the nose heavyweight does have its purpose, and you can use it to your advantage. Another really big thing, and this is an absolute must, okay, is its reliability. It's just, it's a fat chick, guys. You know, she weighs a lot. She doesn't look that great. But god damn it, she is reliable. I put 1,000 rounds through this rifle just as confirmation. And a pretty good friend of mine who's lent me guns in the past before for this channel, Enduring Eagle, has put 7,000 rounds through this gun. So this is kind of an initial and post review. Or a longevity review, pretty much. Because this is post 8,000 rounds. Now, what I find absolutely awesome about this rifle is that it does not give a shit what you put in it. I've thrown Wolf in there before. I've thrown some M855 and XM193. I threw in some PMC, A-load. Federal got thrown in this guy, some Walmart off-the-shelf stuff, and some Lake City got thrown in there too. So, it didn't care about any of it. And what's actually kind of really awesome about its reliability is it's very AK-like in its ejection pattern. Or characteristic, really. Because when this guy starts spitting brass, it starts tucking them up towards Jesus. And I'll show you what that looks like here in a second. A lot of people don't quite realize powerful extraction is absolutely necessary to reliability. And if you don't have powerful extraction and ejection, eventually you're going to have problems. So, big ups on SIG for a rifle that is ultimately very accurate, very reliable. And realistically speaking, that's the only thing that you can really say. You cannot touch it if it's reliable and accurate. You can have all the little personal preferences that you want, but the bottom line is that this rifle is going to go bang. It's going to do it every time. It's going to hit shit with lethal accuracy. I mean, it does really well. While we were shooting Modern Rifleman, the AK, and if you pay attention to the channel, you'll know what that is. I took this guy out to do some initial shooting with it, and I was hitting 4-inch plates at 100 yards from the standing with no real problems whatsoever. Granted, I had a 1-4 to help me out, but it's still standing, and that reticle does move around quite a bit when it's on 4 power. Okay, so, again, it is what it is, but it's definitely accurate enough. So, going back to this trigger issue thing, that is superfluous bullshit. Now, another really big thing that I actually like about this rifle is that it departs a little bit from the AR height of the sights and whatnot. But it maintains awareness of heat. Now, the rifle does heat up like any other rifle, but it stays cool enough fairly up front. And what's neat about it is that I can throw an aim point with a standard mount on there rather than an AR co-witness mount, so that I can keep the gun nice and tight. Now, if you do decide to throw on a standard AR type mount on there, this stock is going to be kind of low for you. So you're going to end up with a chin weld rather than a cheek weld. That's an issue. What's also kind of neat about this rifle is that stock, it comes with some MP5 style iron sights, which I personally really dig. So, you know, that is what it is. But, all that being said, a little issue that I have with the rifle itself is that its holdover is kind of high at close ranges. For instance, if you are at, let's say, 10 yards with an AR, right? You got about 2.6 inches worth of hold, right? With an AK, it's about 1.25 inches to 1.5 inches, depending on what gun you're using, depending on what sights you're using. This guy is pretty high. It's close to 3 inches of a hold. And that's a problem. It seems to be similar to a Tavor in its close range holdover. But, you know what, really it's not a problem, it's just a training issue. Just hold a little bit higher, do what you gotta do. Okay? So, realistically, of all of the little itty-bitty quirks that I have on this rifle, none of them are severe. None of them really mean anything. They're just personal preference to me. And the really important shit, meaning the accuracy and the reliability, are present. Plus, convenience, as far as just going across the country or doing a bunch of classes and whatnot with it, the stock folds. Yay. Okay? So, the gun runs well. It's fucking bomb-proof. I mean, there's a lot of steel in this rifle, which is another reason why it's so damn heavy. But it works, man, and I tell you what. I thought that this review was going to be a shit show at first because of the little itty-bitty quirks and stuff that I had with it. I had operator issues and stuff like that. But once I got the little training issues out of the way and started shooting the thing properly, it grows on you. It grows on you. Much like a fat chick, man. If she's around enough and if she's reliable as hell and if she's just doing her job over and over and over and over and over again, she'll start to grow on you. But it is what it is. If you have any questions, go ahead and throw them in the comments box below. If you don't want to ask them there, go ahead and go to the Facebook page. I'll leave a description for a link for that in the description below. And let me know. What are your thoughts on this guy? What could be made better? Should it have existed at all? It is what it is. But I want to know what you guys think, and let me know what you guys want to see on the next video. But remember, guys, a regular guy's firearm is the last defense against tyranny. Be easy.